Welcome to Joe Sylvester Motorsports, aka the Canfield Speed Farm, home of the Bad Habit Monster Truck and Mayhem the Ride. Come check it out. First in the world. So we'll start off here at the front of the shop. This is where we build our shocks. I usually try to keep this part of the shop the cleanest. I'm pretty particular about my shocks. I'm always changing things. Pretty much every show I change something. And I only do one of three things. It's going to get better, it's going to get worse, or it's going to stay the same. Either way, we know and we have data. We keep track of everything that goes into our shocks. I've got valving sheets that I use for every shock that I put together. And I build shocks for other people sometimes too, so I make sure that I keep good notes for them. This is all my tools. Some stuff is specialty, some stuff not quite so much. And you know, we go through them usually once or twice a year, put fresh fluid in them, which is basically what I'm doing now. No major changes, no valve changes for next year. I might put a little more rebound in the front end of the truck, or take some away actually. Trying to get the front of the truck to lift up a little bit slower, try to slow the rebound down some. That's really probably one of the only things we'll be doing as far as changing the shocks going into next year. I've got a transmission from a Bruzy. It's actually fresh, but it's here on the shock bench, again, because it's a clean work area, and I have to do some modifications on that. We're actually putting an external tranny cooler pump on it. So after the transmission is nice and hot, after racing, two-wheel skill, or whatever we did beginning of the show, during intermission, I could flick a switch and start circulating all my transmission oil through the coolers and get it cooled down all the way to zero before we go on freestyle, which is probably one of the hardest things on the transmission because it puts so much heat into the transmissions, especially when we do these little arena shows. There's a lot of strain put on that. So the cooler we can make our tranny fluid, the better. We got some more shocks over there. We keep our drums of methanol over here. So it's, again, it's a little cluttered right now because I'm rebuilding shocks, but it's usually pretty open, and you want a nice open area for when you're pumping fuel. So in case you spill anything, and you also want to make sure that you're not getting any debris into your fuel jugs that's going to go into the truck. Spare parts over there, spare shocks, spare steering rams. We'll also be rebuilding those for the new season, rebuilding steering rams. Spare rear steer pumps. Plenty of northern chill water to keep us hydrated. More Jeep stuff. I actually built all my front clips for the Jeeps for Bad Habit Gladiator. We use real Gladiator front ends. I take basically the hood, the grill, the fenders, and I rivet it all together from the inside and make a one-piece front clip. And we've got a few bedsides over there stacked up because we got the truck taken apart. Spare rim that's going to be going together, coming out on the road with us. Our forklift, of course, our four-wheeler we take out on the road. And actually we've got a template over there. We're making a center console for the inside of the rig, which actually, you guys watch this video all the way through, just might show you the inside of the rig too. I know everybody's been asking about that. Everybody's seen the outside of the new rig. Everybody wants to see the inside, so maybe we'll get to that here shortly. Got the hater cuts, the famous hater cuts. Our pit wagon that we take out on the road, usually it stays in the trailer. We have two sets of tools. We don't like to be taking stuff out of the trailer during the week when we're here prepping for shows, because you always go to a show and you're like, oh, where's this tool, or where's this part? Oh, we forgot that back at the shop. So we eliminate that by having a separate set of tools for the shop and a separate tool wagon that goes out on the road. But being that it's the off season now, pretty much everything comes out of the trailer. It gets reorganized, gets cleaned up, make sure we're not missing anything. So as you can see, the truck is on its way to being totally torn apart. Motor's out, tranny's out, shocks are out, axles are getting ready to get torn apart. We'll tear pretty much every single piece down on this truck and inspect everything. We'll inspect the chassis for cracks. We always make sure the motor's fresh. That's at VZ right now, getting rebuilt. We'll check our axles. Axle shafts, while they may be working perfectly fine right now, when we take them out, sometimes you'll notice that they're actually twisted. So they'll almost be like a candy cane. So that starts happening. We got to get them out because they're probably going to break soon. Put fresh axles in. So we go through everything really well before the season starts. We've got some different things we're working on for the rear steer for next year. We're going to change some things around on the front steering, get it to react a little bit quicker, but not really too many major changes for next year. The truck's been working pretty darn well, so we're not going to mess with too many things. So we, you know, parts are all over there, nuts and bolts are labeled in bins, so that we make sure everything goes back where it's supposed to go. We'll put all fresh FK rod ends on the shocks, brand new FK rod ends on the four-link bars. You know, we'll go through and put all new nuts and bolts on high stress areas, make sure we grease everything really well. Really just give it everything it needs to be 110% before we start another 10-month season. So we got another bay here. It's open if we have another truck come into town, somebody needs a place to work. My vinyl guy, Ryan from Ripped Vinyl, that does all my stuff, he also uses my shop for install, so he'll pull vehicles in there from time to time and do vinyl wraps. And we've got the trailer. I'll show you guys what we take on down the road here. This is a 53-foot triple drop Kentucky trailer, and it's built out for hauling 2 monster trucks. So basically we have a tire lift over here. We'll lift 2 tires at a time. 4 tires stay up on the neck. Then we'll lift 2 tires to the ceiling, and then 2 tires will stay on the floor. That's how we get all 8 tires crammed in here, and then both trucks back in as close as we can get them, and we sit up on top of these ramps. So then underneath the ramps is where all of our spare parts go, extra tools, things like that, 4-wheeler, pit wagon, everything will go on the floor under here. So it all stays underneath the trucks. That's how we can fit everything in here, and we're loaded down when we head down the road. Usually all this stuff is in these cabinets, but like I said, right now, everything's coming out for the season. We'll clean everything really good, and just make sure that we have every spare part that we need, and also that we're not taking stuff we don't necessarily need. You know, and we don't need any extra weight going down the road, so anything that isn't really necessary, we'll make sure that gets left behind here at the shop. All of our red line oil, we'll restock all of our fluids before we head down the road, because like for next year, we're gonna be on the road for nearly 3 months before we come back home. So this thing's gotta be prepared for battle. We can see what else we got. We got our Lincoln Electric crash cart back here. Inside that is everything you need to fix major oopses at a stadium or an arena. Basically, we're working inside the stadium or the arena. Come out here, grab that, take it into the stadium, and it's got everything we need to start cutting, grinding, welding, fix chassis, fix body mounts, whatever we got to do. Just take that in and you're ready to go. Mayhem's back here, Mayhem the Ride. We do full race prep on Mayhem as well. After every show, even though it is a ride truck, it gets gone through just like Bad Habit does. Every nut and bolt gets tightened, every hydraulic line, every electrical wire, everything gets checked. Because while that thing's not flying through the air and getting really pushed to its limits, it is giving people rides, and it needs to be able to give hundreds and hundreds of people rides every weekend in a safe manner. So we are very, very particular about the maintenance on that truck as well. We make sure everything's tight. During the off season here, we've got some things we're changing around on. We're changing some track bar brackets on there. You know, just kind of going through stuff that we didn't have time to mess around with during the season that wasn't really affecting the performance of the truck. Now we're going to do it. We're going to put all new seat belts in the back because they start to get wore out and sometimes they stick. So we'll make sure we put all new seat belts in, make sure everything's all 100%, just like on the race truck. So looking throughout the shop, we've got banners and body panels and stuff. I try to keep at least one piece of every race car I've ever driven, whether it's a monster truck, a sprint car, off-road truck. There's pretty much one piece of just about everything that I've driven hanging on the walls here, hanging from the ceiling. This was the 2013 Monster Jam Moral Finals Young Guns body that we ran. Here's Bad Habit Relapse, obviously, the 79 Ford that we just chopped up and took off. We've got a sign from my coffee shop, from my first coffee shop. We had that on the wall in there. It was all hand drawn with chalk. One of my sprint car wings, the whole side of my dirt late model, the hood of my dirt late model, JSM banner that we used to use when we were racing off-road. This is our steel rack, so it's easy. We have a garage door there, so when we get steel deliveries, bring it in, steel goes right on the rack. And we do mostly all of our own fabrication here. I don't have an elaborate fabrication shop, but we've got some great welders and I'm pretty handy with a grinder. So we do pretty much everything here. Back here's our cutting area, grinding, chopping stuff up. We are pretty resourceful. We don't throw much away. We do scrap metal, but not a ton. It's everything that's there is going to get cut, chopped up, and reused for something else. Metal's not cheap, especially nowadays, so we try to reuse as much as we can. We've got that's the 2011 body that had the real fire on it. It didn't last very long, got tore up at the very first show in Detroit. And I did drive El Toro for a brief time, so I got a piece of that. And we go back into the welding area here. Got the 2010 Bad Habit body, got the door that was from the first record jump that was on the truck during that performance. I've got my very first welder hanging on the wall. It's an old Lincoln Tombstone stick welder you would find on the farm. Believe it or not, the first couple years I was running monster trucks, I didn't really even know how to MIG weld, much less have a MIG welder. So everything I built on that truck, my first truck, I used a stick welder. A lot of people don't know that. And then when Lincoln Electric jumped on board with us, it's been nonstop for the past, I think they've been with us for 14 or 15 years now. This is my welding table where I build pretty much everything. I've got a tubing notcher mounted on the side of the table there. So if I'm doing a lot of tubing, I'll get that thing set up. But if I'm just making body mounts or just one or two things really quick, I don't even bother with it. I just use an angle grinder and I just cope the tubing by hand with an angle grinder, which I actually have a video that I put out a few years ago showing how I cope tubing with an angle grinder, showing that you can get pretty good fitment on tubing without having a fancy tubing notcher or anything like that. So I got my welding gloves. My wife made these for me. They're actually Lincoln welding gloves, and then she took a pair of my boots and cut them up and made like, they're almost like sleeves, so they come up really far. I got a really bad habit of welding in short sleeves and tank tops and stuff, so it at least covers my forearm and keeps my tattoos from fading in the sun, in the light of the welders. Safety glasses from black flies. So that's my 255 XT MIG set up with 035 wire. We come over here. This big guy is one of their newer models. Basically the newer model of that. It's the 260 Power MIG. It's got a full digital screen and it's pretty fancy. It remembers your settings, like you can program it. Say you're welding, a certain type of metal, certain thickness, and you like your welder set up a certain way for that. You can save that program in there, so the next time you're welding that material, you can just go right to your saved settings and it automatically programs it to be where you want it to be. This welder I use for a lot heavier stuff. It's set up with 045 wire, and we usually use 9010 gas, so it does a lot of like spray arc welding. We got to weld things like knuckles or our wheel tether plates are 1/2-inch steel, so you need something that can really penetrate that type of material. So that's what I use for that, and I usually just leave it set up with that 045 wire. This is a 350 Power MIG, and that one I use exclusively for aluminum. I build aluminum ramps for the trailer. Some of the stuff on the pit wagon is aluminum. The steps on Mayhem are aluminum, and the hand railing and stuff like that. So that thing has a push-pull gun on it, and it's not tedious welding like TIG welding. When you TIG weld aluminum, you can weld dirty aluminum, you can weld really thick stuff and kind of do more production run stuff with it. It's a really nice piece, and I'll usually like make cool stuff. Like I made centerpieces for my wedding out of old connecting rods and pistons out of one of the motors. Now, if they've been inside of a motor, they're soaked in oil, probably not going to be able to TIG weld them very good. So I just turn that thing on and weld them up. And then I do have a TIG welder over here, Precision TIG 225 from Lincoln, and it probably gets used the least. We don't TIG weld very much on monster trucks. There's very little that's TIG welded on Bad Habit, but every now and then I need it, so I've got it, and I'm not very good at it though. I'm much better at MIG welding. So we've got just some different things here. We've got different bracketry and things like that, templates. If I know I'm going to need something like a 4-link tab or something like that, I'll keep templates of it so I know, how to cut something new, or I call up Dalton over there at Dude's Fab Shop and have him burn me out some plate if I need some different tabs made. These are actually the brake rotors that were on Bad Habit for a good portion. That hurt. A good portion of the season for this 2022 this year, and they were on the truck for the world record speed run. So I was just gonna scrap them, but then Jared was like, well, maybe you could just sign them and see if anybody wants them as a novelty. So I'm gonna engrave my name on there, and if anybody wants those, you can be looking for those in the near future as well, as long with all the fiberglass stuff that we've had up for sale. So just some different projects, and this area is kind of a mess back here. We haven't had a chance to really organize it too much, but we keep a bunch of spare parts back there and oil and things like that. So I guess we'll make our way around the front side of the rig here. Come over here, kind of out of sight, out of mind. We keep all the stuff that ain't so pretty, the pressure washers and generators, shop vac, all the banners that we use for the Outlaw Monster Truck drags. The official timing tree is over there for the Outlaw Monster Truck drags. And then there's everything to me kind of has a memory, whether it's a t-shirt or a banner or something like that. So I kind of keep things and hang them up. Like that's my Torque banner from when I was racing off-road. They gave everybody one of those to put on your trailer for the pits. I love bicycles, including lowrider bikes. I've got a lowrider bike hanging up there. I do actually ride the thing from time to time. And we come over here, you gotta have the American flag. I've got the Gas Monkey garage hood from when I drove the Gas Monkey truck. And that's actually the hood that was on the truck when I tore it up in Oakland, California. And then we got the Cadillac Escalade grill from Bad Habit in 2010. Also was on the truck for the first record jump. A couple of my favorite bands, Motorhead, Slayer. Got the my pit party poster from Monster Jam World Finals. That's there, pretty cool. Our radio, which is, if you notice, it's already on max. We only keep the high volume here for blaring heavy metal. Let's show the inside of this bad boy. The rig. Customized from front to back. Green's not really my color, but it's been done really, really nice. So I don't really plan on changing the interior too much. We might put some accent lighting or something like that in there. Like I said, we're building a center console with a kicker subwoofer inside it. Give it a little bit of bump going down the road. Got the low air ride seats, 18-speed transmission, Cat C15 under the hood, 8-inch stacks. And if there's anything that's louder than the stacks on this thing, it's the train horn. So people got to know that they need to get out of the way when this bad boy's rolling down the road. So should I give him some horn, Jared? Should I give him a little bit of horn? It actually makes things vibrate. It's so loud. I actually had a honk off with a train one time, and it was every bit as loud as the train's horn. So on the outside of the rig, so it's a full custom paint job. Again, it's a shame we got to cover it. It doesn't match the Bad Habit orange. So we are wrapping it black with some orange flames on it, and it'll look pretty sick when Ryan's done with it. It's got a lot of stainless, a lot of really nice accents. It's got the old school headlights, but they're actually LEDs. Got the big Texas bumper on there, and it's actually a flip bumper. It's on air cylinders, so if I get in a position where the bumper's gonna scrape the ground, if we're pulling in somewhere, I hit a switch and this bumper actually lifts up, so it gives me a little more ground clearance when I'm pulling in places. So now we'll go check out the inside. You guys get to see how we live out on the road. We do 35 plus shows a year. Sometimes we stay out on the road for long periods of time. We need all the amenities of home. We can't be staying in hotels for months on end, and we also want to bring the dogs with us, be able to cook our own meals and everything, and have a comfortable place to come back to after a weekend of monster trucking. Shoes off. So the first thing you see when you come in, you've got the dinette. So we could sit and eat our meals. Jared could do his editing on YouTube, and that'll actually fold down into a bed as well. So we'll have another bed there, a bunch of storage. Bed up there. Jared's got his own TV even in his bedroom up there. We've got granite countertops. We've got a microwave that's also a convection oven, so we could cook some things. We've got full fridge. Again, it's the off season, so there's actually nothing in it right now. So, but generally it would be packed full of Northern Chill, high octane coffee, cold brew, and a lot of Red Bull too. We got to stay caffeinated for these long nights rolling down the road. Cabinets everywhere, pass through to get back up to the front. So they come back here. We've got the shower, full size shower, plenty of room to get in here, turn around, nice and comfortable. I've had toters in the past where you're crammed in there and it makes showering a miserable experience. You're already all tired and dirty and everything from working all day long. You want to at least be able to get a nice shower. And you've got your bathroom over here. Sink, toilet, everything. All comforts of home. LED lights everywhere. We got 2 roof mount air conditioners and heaters. The master bedroom in the back. Me and my wife be comfortable going down the road. We've got queen size bed back here, plenty of storage. This also slides out so you can walk around the bed. More granite countertops, another sink back here, TV, sound bar so I could jam out my tunes. I gotta have music everywhere I go. So that pretty much sums up this bad boy. So now you got to see how we travel up and down the road. This was the bootlegger hauler. It was the bootlegger tractor pull team. Those guys built this thing out and they did an incredible job. And now it's ready for its new life hauling monster trucks down the road. And I think we might have to call this bad boy the night train. It's going to be black and we roll down the road primarily at night. So that concludes our tour of the Canfield Speed Farm and Joe Sylvester Motorsports. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought of this. Also let us know what else you want to see on My Monster Life. We got plenty more content coming, so make sure you subscribe and we'll catch you guys later.